Welcome to Staffworks Explained. If you are here for the first time, please consider subscribing to this channel. You can watch videos that you have done in different topics, covering issues in Africa as well as in different parts of the world. In today's video, we'll be talking about Jomo Kenyatta International Airport expansion and modernization, which is a 375 billion Kenya shillings upgrade. And the question that we'll be dealing with here is whether it's a necessary modernization or another mega project full of questions. For decades, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, which is commonly known as Jkia, has been the face of Kenya to the world. It is the country's most important international gateway, the hub of East African aviation, and a critical piece of infrastructure supporting tourism, trade, investment, and regional connectivity. Yet, despite its strategic importance, the airport has been for years struggling beneath the weight of growing traffic, aging facilities, congestion, and capacity constraint. Now, the government has reportedly awarded Kenya shillings 375.4 billion contract for the expansion and modernization of this airport to China Communication Construction Company, Ccc, one of China's largest state-owned infrastructure firms. The decision marks the latest chapter in project that has been discussed, designed and redesigned, postponed, and politicized for more than a decade. The award immediately raises a series of important questions. What exactly does the project entail? How will it be financed? Why was a Chinese contractor selected? Was the procurement process sufficiently transparent? Are there legal grounds for procurement approach adopted? Does Cccc have the credentials to deliver such a project? And perhaps most importantly, after years of failed attempt, will this be the project that finally transforms Kenya's premier airport? These questions that deserve scrutiny, particularly given the project's huge cost, its implication for public finance, and its significance to the country's long-term economic future. Let's start by looking at why Jkia needs an upgrade. The need to modernize Jkia is not a recent discovery. Kenya Airport Authority has repeatedly warned that the airport is operating beyond the capacity for which the key facilities were originally designed. Passenger traffic has grown steadily over the years, driven by Kenya Airways expansion, increased regional travel, tourism growth, and Nairobi's emergence as a regional business hub. The airport was designed for a significantly smaller passenger load than it currently holds. While temporary interventions and incremental improvements have helped manage growth, they have not addressed the capacity problem. Congestion during peak hours has become routine. Aircraft movement areas are stretched. Passenger processing facilities face periodic bottlenecks. Landside access roads frequently experience traffic problems. Some airport systems are also approaching the limits of their operational life. The constraint is expected to intensify as we move on. Government planning documents indicate that passenger demand is projected to continue rising through 2045, necessitating substantial investment in both terminal and airside infrastructure. Airside infrastructure refers to areas used directly by aircraft, including runways, taxiways, and aprons, while landside infrastructure includes terminals, access roads, and passenger facilities. Without expansion, experts warn that Jkia risks losing its competitiveness against emerging aviation hubs in Africa, including the ones in Addis Ababa, Rwanda, Uganda, and many other countries surrounding Kenya, as well as far as Middle East. What the Kenya shillings 375 billion project entails? According to government disclosures, the project presentation that have been made earlier this year, the expansion will be implemented in two phases. The first phase focuses on upgrading existing infrastructure. This includes improvement to taxiways, terminal processing areas, access roads, passenger handling facilities, and digital systems. The objective is to improve efficiency and increase annual handling capacity to approximately 12 million within about 18 months. The second phase is significantly more ambitious. It includes the construction of a new 4,500-meter parallel runway, as well as a new passenger terminal estimated at approximately 230,000 square meters. The terminal is expected to accommodate an additional 10 million passengers annually. The planned runway is perhaps the most strategically important component of the project. Jkia currently operates with a single runway. This creates operational vulnerabilities because any disruption can affect airport operations significantly. A second runway would improve resilience, increase aircraft movement capacity, as well as reduce delays. The proposed terminal, meanwhile, is expected to incorporate modern passenger processing systems, enhance baggage handling systems, improve security infrastructure, as well as expanded commercial facility. Together, the two phases form part of a broader 20-year master plan extending to 2045. The master plan seeks to transform Jkia into a modern regional aviation hub capable of supporting long-term economic growth. Let's now look at the cost and the funding questions that have been raised. The reported contract value of 375.4 billion Kenya shillings immediately places this among the most expensive infrastructure projects ever undertaken in Kenya. The government has indicated that the project will be implemented under the National Infrastructure Fund (NIF), a financing vehicle which was established this year, 2026, to support strategic national projects. President William Ruto previously stated that the proceeds from the partial privatization of the Kenya Pipeline Company, which was a state corporation, would provide initial funding for the airport project. Government officials indicate that approximately Kenya shillings 20 billion would serve as a seed capital for this initiative. However, the critical questions remains unanswered. Seed capital represents only a small fraction of the total project cost. More than 355 billion Kenya shillings still requires financing. Reports indicate that additional funding could come through commercial borrowing, supported by future airport revenues, including passenger service charges. In project finance terminology, this is known as securitization, where anticipated future revenue streams are used to support borrowing today. Yet, government officials have not publicly disclosed the complete financing structure, loan terms, repayment obligations, or contingent liabilities that taxpayers may ultimately bear because of this project. This lack of clarity is one of the major concerns raised by critics. Without full disclosure, it is important to accurately, or it is even impossible, to accurately assess the project fiscal sustainability, as well as its long-term affordability or potential impact on public debt. There was a previous attempt to upgrade and modernize Jkia, but this failed. This was the Adani deal. The current project cannot be understood without examining its immediate predecessor. In 2024, the government pursued a public-private partnership (PPP) arrangement with the Adani Group for the modernization of Jkia. The proposal sparked intense public opposition. Critics argued that the process lacked transparency. Questions emerged regarding concession terms, projected revenues, and long-term implications of granting excessive operational rights over a strategic national asset. Civil society groups, legal experts, as well as opposition politicians called for greater disclosure. The controversy intensified following legal and reputation problems facing the Adani Group internationally. Amid mounting public outcry, the government ultimately cancelled the deal. The collapse of the Adani proposal sent policymakers back to the drawing board and delayed urgently needed expansion works. Then there was the return to Chinese contractors. The selection of the Cccc signals a return to a familiar model of infrastructure delivery. For nearly 2 decades, Chinese firms have played a dominant role in Kenya's major infrastructure projects. Projects involving Chinese contractors include the SGR from Nairobi to Naivasha. We have Nairobi Expressway. We have road developments. We have port infrastructure. We have stadium construction. We have other numerous public works initiatives being done by Chinese contractors. Cccc itself is among the world's largest infrastructure contractors. Through subsidiary and affiliated companies, it has participated in airport, railway, highway, and port projects across multiple continents. Supporters argue that Chinese firms possess the technical expertise, financial capacity, as well as execution experience which is required for projects of this scale. Critics, however, point to concerns surrounding procurement transparency, debt sustainability, cost escalation, and local content participation. Now, another question that has been raised is, was the procurement process open? That the procurement process that gives the Chinese contractors this contract. This is perhaps the most contentious aspect of the project. Government officials previously stated that an international bidding process has been initiated. However, details regarding the participating bidders, evaluation criteria, bid scores, and final selection reports have not yet been fully disclosed publicly. Law Society of Kenya (LSK) has already asked for complete disclosure of procurement processes, financing arrangements, as well as contract terms. Transparency concerns are understandable. A Kenya sharing 375 billion project represents a major public investment. International best practice requires extensive disclosure, independent oversight, as well as rigorous public accountability. Until complete procurement documentation is made public, questions regarding competitiveness and value for money will likely persist. Then, was the procurement approach legal in Kenyan law? Kenya procurement law allows several procurement methods. There is open bidding remains the preferred because it maximizes competition as well as transparency. However, the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act permits alternative procurement methods in specific circumstances. These include situations involving specialized expertise, limited competition, emergencies, national security consideration, or circumstances where open competition may not achieve the intended objectives. Similarly, strategic infrastructure projects may utilize alternative procurement mechanisms where justified under applicable law and regulations. The legal question, therefore, is not whether alternative procurement methods are permitted. They are. The more important question is whether the specific justification used in this case satisfies the legal threshold and whether decision makers can demonstrate value for money, fairness, and public interest. That determination ultimately depends on documentation that has not yet been made public. Another question is there an unspoken deal with China? The award inevitably fuels speculations. China remains one of Kenya's largest infrastructure partners. Chinese financing and construction companies have played a central role in many flagship projects. However, no credible evidence has emerged indicating the existence of a secret bilateral arrangement linked to the Jkia contract. What is evident is that Chinese firms often possess a competitive advantage because they can mobilize large-scale financing, engineering expertise, and construction capacity simultaneously. This integrated financing and construction model has become a defining feature of Chinese infrastructure projects or engagement across Africa. Whether that constitutes strategic partnership or excessive dependence is a matter of legitimate policy debate. Some say that what should be avoided is speculation unsupported by evidence. Does CCC deserve the contract? That's another question. Assessing the state-owned Chinese company which was given this contract requires a balanced view. On one side, the company has extensive global experience delivering large transport infrastructure projects. Its affiliates have participated in some of the Kenya's largest projects, including infrastructure linked to the SGR as well as Nairobi Expressway development. The firm possesses the technical capacity, that's undeniable, workforce, and financial resources which are necessary for a project of this magnitude. That is also undeniable. On the other hand, large infrastructure projects associated with Chinese contractors have occasionally faced criticism related to costs, contract management, environmental concerns, and debt implication. The real test, therefore, will not be whether the company can build the airport. It almost certainly can, and there's no debate about that. The question is whether it can deliver the project on budget, on schedule, and with sufficient local participation while maintaining transparency and quality standards. Now let's look at the criticism surrounding the award. Several criticisms have emerged since reports of the award became public. First is the cost. At Kenya shillings 375 billion, many observers question whether the project represents value for money, especially given comparison with earlier proposals. Second is transparency. The absence of publicly available contract documents, financing agreements, and procurement reports has generated concern among governance advocates. Third is debt. Kenya already faces substantial public debt obligations. Critics worry that additional borrowing would or could increase fiscal constraint. Fourth is accountability. Large infrastructure projects have historically been vulnerable to cost overruns, scope adjustments, and implementation delays. These concerns do not necessarily invalidate the project. What they do is that they underscore the importance of strong oversight. Another question is whether this time it will be different, whether that project will be realized. History offers reasons for both optimism and caution. The need for this expansion is undeniable. The master plan exists. Political commitment appears stronger than at any point in recent years. Funding mechanisms are reportedly being established. Construction timelines have been announced. Yet, Kenya's infrastructure history is filled with projects that started with great enthusiasm before encountering delays, financing problems, and procurement disputes or legal battles that for that matter. The airport expansion will likely face similar risks. Land acquisition, financing closure, regulatory approvals, contractor mobilization, and stakeholder management all present potential risks or challenges. And then we can also talk about when will construction start. Government statements indicate construction could begin as early as July 2026. If mobilization proceeds as planned, initial works could likely focus on preparatory activities, enabling infrastructure and upgrades to existing facilities. The first phase is expected to take approximately 18 months. The broader expansion program, including the new runway and terminal, is expected to unfold over several years. Given the project's complexity, a realistic completion horizon would likely extend well beyond the initial phase. And now to make a conclusion. The decision to proceed with 375 billion Kenya shillings modernization of Jkia reflects an unavoidable reality. Kenya can no longer postpone the expansion of this principal international airport. It must be built. The current facility is struggling to accommodate growing demand. Failure to invest would undermine Kenya's competitiveness, constrain tourism growth and weaken Nairobi's position as regional aviation hub. This is being threatened by the construction of the biggest airport in Ethiopia and also upcoming Bugesera International Airport in Rwanda. Yet, necessity alone does not eliminate the obligation for transparency. The project scale demands extraordinary scrutiny. Kenya deserves full disclosure of procurement records, financing arrangements, contract terms, as well as implementation milestones. The selection of this contractor may prove technically sound. The company has experience, it has the capacity which is required for a project of this magnitude, among other elements. However, technical competence cannot substitute for public accountability. The lessons from previous failed attempts, including the abandoned Adani proposal, are clear. Public trust matters. Transparency also matters, and also financial sustainability is also a key consideration. If government embraces openness, maintains rigorous oversight, and ensures prudent financial management, Jkia expansion could become a transformative national investment. If those safeguards are neglected, the project risks becoming yet another symbol of missed opportunity. We recommend that the government should immediately publish the procurement evaluation report, the contract award details, as well as the financing structure to eliminate uncertainty and strengthen public confidence. Parliament should establish continuous oversight mechanisms to monitor costs, timelines, as well as compliance with contractual obligations. Independent technical audits should be conducted throughout the implementation to verify quality and progress, as well as value for money that this project gives. The government should disclose all borrowing obligations associated with the project, including repayment schedules as well as contingent liabilities. Kenya Airport Authority should establish a public project dashboard where it provides regular updates on milestones, expenditure, as well as the progress of the project. Finally, local contractors, engineers, as well as suppliers should be integrated into project delivery wherever possible, and this to maximize domestic economic benefits as well as skill transfer. Kenya unquestionably needs a modern airport. The challenge now is ensuring that the journey from blueprint to reality is managed with transparency, discipline, and accountability. That a 375 billion Kenya shillings investment, which is equivalent to about $2 billion, demands. So thank you for reaching this far. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to this channel. You can also watch other videos that you have made on this project and others. So thank you, and let us meet in the next one.